What's up guys, I'm Shan.
And I'm Kai.
And we're back with another D&D recap video. We're super excited to go over our last session with you guys. This time we'll be starting at the entrance to the hideout of the Cragmaw goblins.
But before we start, as you all may know, we create content and live out our lives for the love and glory of God. And we want to make sure He stays front and center in everyone's minds, even in the midst of a fun game like D&D. Now that you know who we are, let's get started. We rejoin our party at the opening of a dark cave. There's dangerous wolves in the first room, and no one is really sure of how to continue forward, especially with Vanys at only 4 HP. But at least they got rolling back before going into this place.
We all see wolves prowling around a room to our right as much as their chains will let them. The DM informs us that anyone who doesn't have dark vision will have a difficult time going forward from this point on. Turns out, it's only Vanys that doesn't have dark vision. RIP. We have some technical difficulties with our figurines and the DM quickly replaces them for us.
Hello, friend. I am Roland. I am here to wall.
I am here to wall.
Come, companion.
How's that, my love?
Number 3.
Companion number 3.
Would you like cure wounds?
You're killing AJ.
Would you like cure wounds? It's like so robotic. Would you like cure wounds?
Unsure of how to proceed into the cave, Roland decides to continue past the room of wolves to scout ahead. He's established with the group that if something goes wrong, the code word is sweetbread. And if he's nodding, that means it's time to kill the wolves. Ashton's miniature of Vanys is never not in fight me mode, so while Roland's gone, she jokingly says to Shan,
"It just looks like I'm stabbing Hattie." Just
Yeah.
right
It does.
As Roland walks forward into the cave, I read 2 descriptions of the area around him. The main passage from the cave mouth climbs steeply up a natural incline along with some roughly carved stone steps, the stream plunging and splashing down its west side. The light lessens from the cave mouth as you move further ahead. You will need to choose whether to go left or right. Since Roland chose to look to the right, I continue to read. In the shadows of the ceiling to the northeast, you can just make out the dim shape of a rickety bridge of wood and rope crossing over the passage ahead of you. The bridge seems to be part of another passage that intersects this one, 20 feet above the floor.
Roland sees a goblin on the bridge ahead, and somehow, with his 12 stealth, the goblin doesn't see him. On the left, he sees nothing but a dark passageway leading to somewhere unknown. Roland comes back to relay what he saw to us, and has a weird encounter with the wolves.
This wolf is just sitting here staring at you guys. It looks at Roland, looks at his lips.
I look at him and I lick mine. The streak goes both ways, buddy.
The group decides to feed the dead goblins to the wolves, and I start to question why I've done that in every single campaign I've ever been in. Before we try that idea, though, Roland says,
Okay, I have an idea.
Alright.
Hear me out. We killed the wolves.
Okay.
In the process, it'll create a bunch of commotion. In the commotion, perhaps 1 or 2 goblins will come up and see what's what, and then we kill him. And then another will be like, I wonder where Carrie is. And then they'll come and find Carrie dead, and then we kill him.
Okay.
And then John will be dead, and then someone will be like, I wonder where John is. Oh well, and then we move on.
Oh well. No one cares
See,
about
but
John.
there's a problem where...
No one ever cares about John.
Roland asks Hattie if she can yeet her mop into the wolves.
Hattie, can you do the, and I mimic you, like, javelin a freaking mop into a goblin's head?
Funny story. That was actually something in that first session that I didn't have yet, but I'm gonna get. So I technically wasn't supposed to use it.
Hattie, I had a weird dream while you were away. I imagined you javelin a mop at a goblin's head. Do you happen to have a mop?
No, I don't.
Roland goes further into the cave again. He wants to gank the goblin on the bridge and devises a plan naming it Operation Full Blast. Then he remembers there was another passageway to the west. Deciding they won't mess with the wolves or goblin yet, He scouts the western passage as I read. On the other side of the stream, to the west, you notice a side passage veiled in shadow. However, it would seem this passage may be difficult to traverse, as it seems to be a steep escarpment choked with rubble. He actually falls in the rubble, but just makes it up without alerting anyone when he sees the next area to the west. Turns out there's a buttload of goblins in their own little common room, and by a buttload I mean about 6.
As Roland returns, his news makes everyone even more nervous. That's when we revisited the idea of feeding the bodies of the first 3 goblins to the wolves. Vanys wants to do it, but is quickly reminded that she currently can't see. The DM shows us exactly what Vanys is seeing right now by turning off the lights. Hattie sends Stick to collect the goblin bodies and meet us in the wolf cave. Vanys is feeding the wolves, and because she has food for them, she just makes her animal handling check. She rolled 12, and they needed a 15 to succeed, but after feeding them, the DC went down to 10. That was close. It's now safe for everyone to go in the cave. We decide to let the wolves free from their chains, and we all participate in tests of strength. Hattie fails and hurts her back. Roland gets a 21 and gives it a good pull, getting the rod holding the chains most of the way out of the ground.
Liam has Texas the Void Husk give it a try. Unfortunately, he rolled a 3 and got 5 total. Texas wasn't feeling himself that day. Vanys steps up to the plate and gets a total of 20 on her math rocks, pulling the remainder of their metal rod out of the stalagmite and freeing the wolves. The wolves just continue eating though. Vanys walks up to the closest wild and angry wolf and pokes it, and now has to make a dex save to avoid being bitten. She rolls high of course, but doesn't stop there. Vanys says, "Hey little buddy, I'm gonna need your help," and reaches out her hand again, this time to pat the wild wolf on the head as it's feeding. She makes another dex save as he is not domesticated, but she rolls a 19 and is saved again from another bite. Sheesh. Vanys names the first wolf Wilbur and has a heartfelt goodbye as Wilbur and his friends push past the party, leaving the cave to be free in the wild.
The party turns their attention back to the goblin on the bridge and initiates Operation Full Blast. So we all ready our magical and ranged attacks to hit him with timed precision. We absolutely decimate him and even cause him to fall off the bridge. Basically, he really just doesn't exist anymore. Rip to that guy, but we're different. That goblin won't be snitching on us now.
What do we say about snitches again?
Where does snitches end up?
In ditches.
Yeah, they end up in ditches. So
End
they
up
do
in
not
ditches.
snitches end up in ditches.
Shoot you and you get in a ditch
yeah,
and they bury
bang,
you.
and then
And then they put dirt over your dead body.
Snitches go in ditches and they bury you.
Well, that escalated quickly.
The party continues left after the intersection Roland mentioned, seeing it has a big room full of goblins. Frightened by this, we go back and take a right at the intersection instead. When we do, we see a big room full of water with a small waterfall. We are also now at the same height as the bridge that the goblin was on, and it's right next to us. Apparently, it also leads to a second entrance going back to the goblin common room, giving us 2 entrances to take advantage of. At this point, we decided to take them out in a surprise attack coming from both sides. Roland takes Hattie, Vanys, and Stick on the bridge side, and Liam and Texas take the other path. Roland says if things get hairy, we'll run back across the bridge and cut the ropes so the goblins fall. He calls it Operation Butterknife. We all realize a little late though that Liam will have no idea what Operation Butterknife means.
Yes, very sad. Anyway.
Ashlyn suggests to Bam that Roland says Operation Butterknife is a go so he can sound cool like in the movies.
Roland runs up to the goblins and decides to do a little tango dance with his battle axe. And from his discreet positioning, Liam secretly adds a little flavor with precipitation to make a musical note for Roland to dance to. Roland rolls a nat 20 on his performance check. Fabio Goblin, as we're calling him, asks if Roland is here for Yimik, and Roland says yes. Fabio Goblin asks why Roland is dancing, and Roland says,
I want to dance.
He must. His heart overflows with the passion of dance, and he must let it out sometimes. The Fabio Goblin comes up very close to Roland and whispers, I understand.
He steps forward a little bit. He's like, why are you dancing? Because I have to. My heart overflows with passion of dance, and I must let it out sometime.
He gets closer. In fact, he gets really close.
Oh no!
And he whispers to you, I understand.
And then you hear a soft piano note.
And I want to axe him.
Roland decides at that moment to axe Fabio Goblin and absolutely murders him. He did. Roland quickly runs back to the bridge after betraying Fabio Goblin. All the goblins quickly follow Roland into the narrow cave, and the whole party absolutely wrecks the goblins one by one. There was only one left, and we were about to take him out, when what we assume is the leader of these goblins has Liam at blade point. He threatens the party to stop attacking and talk to him, or he'll kill Liam. Liam nervously asks everyone to stop fighting, and we do.
Emic says he wants to make a deal. He says instead of killing all of his goblin friends, the group should just kill their bugbear boss that gave him the orders in the first place. He tells the party to go back the way they came, across the bridge, where they will find the bugbear boss and a couple of what he calls goblin traitors in that room.
The goblin says the dwarf they captured is gone, but they still have the human, and that he'll give up the human if we defeat their boss. So we all agree to kill the boss.
Emic leaves, but not before kicking Liam in the shins. And that's our third D&D session in 10 minutes or less. We hope you guys enjoyed it.
Be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to join us on Saturdays on Twitch to watch our D&D sessions live. Thanks for watching. See you next time.